All right, here we go. Take one.
So what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape. But it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed,
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. People don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know.
It's pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
Virus that we're talking about having to do, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat, as the heat comes in. Typically that will go away in April. We're in great shape though. We have 12 cases, 11 cases.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older
exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Today, the global death rate at 3.4%, and a report that the Olympics could be delayed. Your reaction to that?
Well, I think the 3.4% is really a false number. Now, this is just my hunch, but based on a lot of conversations with a lot of people that do this, because a lot of people will have this, and it's very mild. They'll get better very rapidly. They don't even see a doctor. They don't even call a doctor. You never hear about those people, so you can't put them down in the category of the overall population in terms of this corona flu and or virus. So you just can't do that. So if we have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that
Hey everybody, welcome back to Recovering Through Highness. Hey, I want to share really quick. You may see this big thing that I had on my face. And so I wanted to tell you a quick story on that. My wife got angry and she decided to punch me in the face. Okay, that was a lie. A fan actually did this to me. So I was actually up on my bed and I was trying to look behind our bed rest to grab something. And I have a fan that's right over my head. And I turned around and the fan did this to me. That's a lie too. The reality is actually I did walk into a fan, but the fan didn't do this to me. I decided to turn around. I was too close to the fan. I actually was on my bed and I was looking over and turned around, smacked me right in the face. So that's what this is. And so again, welcome back to Recovering Through Highness. Now, recovering through highness is a lot more than educating that pleasure will not be lost in recovery, but also about people realizing that we can take power back over our lives. That can include emotional control as we stop allowing others the ability to influence our decisions, our behavior, and most importantly, our self-esteem and happiness. Again, my name is Eric McCoy. And a simple thing that I realized in life is that as long as I remain a student, my mind is always going to be open to new possibilities. And I'd like everybody to listen to the message within this. And I know that I started this out with some videos that can upset a lot of people. And that's not really what my intention was in doing this, but to present the topic of what I want to talk about today. This one may come off strange, but I'm determined to discuss things that I find important. And a lot of these aren't really thought much about within my world as a counselor and as a teacher. Humility has been my strength as I no longer feel more important than other people. And I can admit my faults. I am a liar. Now, that's a very interesting thing to say, but it's true. You are a liar. Now, that may be more difficult for you to hear, but it's true. Everybody that is human is incapable of living with what a lot of people call in recovery this rigorous honesty. And rigorous comes from the Latin word rigor, which means a deep down to the core, unyielding or inflexible type of honesty. Impossible to have that ability. And professions don't allow it. As you have salespeople who would never be able to sell anything. Attorneys, as a trial would be impossible unless manipulation was presented, or politicians, which is at the forefront of the importance of next month in November. Now, anybody who claims to never lie is lying. And I would consider other information sometimes as factual with those people. But again, the reality is everybody lies. And that's what I wanted to actually talk about today. So I tell about a study in my book, "And Pain, Failure, and Misery Are the Stepping Stones to Success." And that this study determined that the average human tells over 200 lies a day. How's that possible? The number seems crazy, since many would say that they don't even say 200 things in a single day. And that may be true, but also dishonest. So there was a study from psychologists at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, that reported observations of the transition from one thought to another in what's called a functional MRI. Now, they couldn't detect what the content of the thoughts are, obviously, but they could count each one. And this is what they referred to as thought worms. Now, they said the average human has 6,200 thoughts per day. Now, I know this study was probably never calculated into those 200 lies per day, which could mean that this number is way higher. Lying to yourself could easily count towards daily lies, which don't require verbal communication. So I had an experience with a functional MRI in 2000 when I decided to finally have treatment for the AVM that I had, which is an arterial vesicular malformation, which is a lesion in my brain. And this AVM that I had caused a couple of grand mal seizures, which put me at risk for having an aneurysm. And the doctor basically told me that every year that passed by, I had a 4% higher chance of having an aneurysm. And so I was expecting traditional brain surgery, the cutting open the skull and messing with my brain. And I was highly opposed to this until I did have my second seizure where I was driving 70 miles an hour down a freeway. It hit both sides of the freeway. The car bowed. I parked. It hit the right side so hard, front right tire so hard up, and it folded up underneath itself. And I parked. And when I was coming to, I remember looking in the rearview mirror and I could see police lights behind me. And my first thought was that I got pulled over, but then I couldn't even remember how I'd gotten there. And so in 2000, I decided to do something about this. I had been arrested again and I ended up in rehab, and my counselor was encouraging me to have treatment for this so I can hopefully not have an aneurysm. But prior to the surgery, they performed what was called a functional MRI and determined that the AVM that I had was too close to the area of my brain where my speech was located. And so they put me in this machine and put what I called machine glasses over my eyes, which had words that would run across the screen. And all I had to do was think the words, and they could tell where my speech was located. So how many lies do you tell yourself a day? Now, if we were to look at politics and say that I'm not going to vote for a person that lies, then you're not going to vote for anybody. So it isn't the question of do they lie, but what is important, in my opinion, is the motive behind their lie and the potential consequences that can result from that lie. So let me take you for a moment into the world of a treatment program. Now, I teach ethics as one of my courses and how clinicians are bounded by justice, which is treating everybody the same, autonomy, always allowing the client to direct their treatment and have a say in what they ultimately want in their life, beneficence, which is always doing good, and non-maleficence, as we do no harm. Now, despite what some may think, that these principles are easy and should always be practiced, but I want to inform everybody that they are the foundation of what we define as ethical dilemmas. So anytime that we have a dilemma, and one of those are going to have to be violated to look out for the best interest of the client, because not all of them can work together, we come with this ethical dilemma. And so to always do good, to me, requires complete honesty with my client. But is that possible? Since I have an intuition, I have a gut feeling, and I have experience that may be different than what the truth actually is. Beneficence will need to have complete honesty, because if I break a trust by a client, they may never seek help again by lumping all clinicians together as dishonest and untrustworthy. This principle requires an intense awareness of what I say, so I don't lie by promising things that I can't fulfill, or even things that I think I can, but I have to consider the fact that I could run into problems. So lies are told every day in the substance abuse industry by clinicians with good intentions, such as if you get a sponsor, go to meetings, and work the steps, then you will make it. But what happens if they don't? What happens if they do relapse? You lied. even though your excuse will be that this person didn't work hard enough or take it seriously enough. But the make it part failed, the equation, no matter how serious they took it. Now, to bring politics in for a moment for a point that I'm trying to do, and again, as I started this whole thing, Trump lies, Biden lies, you lie, I lie, we all lie. So again, it's not the lies, but again, the motivation behind those. So intentions or reasons for doing something can be dangerous. So Donald Trump has stated since the beginning of this to the public that it will go away. It's a sham and get back to work because we have it handled. But we've heard different information than he shared publicly. No matter his reason, he lied, as he originally defined it as very serious in that audio tape. Deadlier than the flu, and it's easy to catch because all you have to do is breathe it. Now, one of those has to be a lie, because after catching it, and according to FEMA, over 30 people caught it at his event. He returned with the same pitch that you don't need to be afraid of it. Go back to work. And knowing he had it, put others at risk by taking off his mask while speaking, although he was outside and, of course, a little distance away. Now, this is what I'm getting at. If he is lying for political reasons, which some evidence shows by reinforcing his pitch that they've got it under control, lies in this category could kill people if they follow his direction, providing he has no concern for other people. And that's why I said that to me, it's not the fact of the lies, but what is the motivation? What is the reasons? And if it is a political reason, that can become dangerous. So one of the things that I teach clients when I work with them is integrity. And integrity is one of the greatest ways of catching people when they are lying, because it is defined as integrity is the integration of our ideals, our convictions, our standards, our beliefs, our values, morals, and behavior. And when all of those match, we can say we have integrity. Now, integrity is not something that is a perfect scenario and you will ever be able to follow, because integrity is an ideal. It's something we can always strive for, but we're never going to be perfect at. But that's also what self-esteem says. Self-esteem says, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to make errors. But what I see within healthier people are the ones that are able to admit it. They can admit their errors. They can admit their mistakes. And then they can move on and they can learn from them. And as long as you learn from the mistakes that you make or the lies that you tell, then you can become a healthier person. And that, to me, is what this whole thing is about. I had a client years ago when I had my program in Anaheim, Serenity Life Counseling, who I had done a group on integrity. And during the group, he looks at me and he says, I never lie. And so I started pushing him a little bit to reconsider that fact of never lying. And as I was doing it, he started getting angrier and angrier and angrier to a point to where he actually lunged out at me because he thought that I was ultimately attacking him. And so for people to hear that they are liars is not always the easiest thing to hear, but it's true. Because according to the studies, they found over 100 different forms of lying that people tell. And some of those are exaggeration. How many times do you tell a story and you make it a little bit bigger than it actually really was? How many times do you blame other people or things without taking responsibility for yourself? I blame the fan originally, or people that play the guitar and they get angry at their guitar because they made some mistakes. Denial is the most difficult for people to realize. How do you even know that you're lying? When we look at the concept of perception, so we all have perceptions of things. We don't describe the world we see the world that we describe, which is why we can all see something, but see it differently. And this is politics. People have agendas. People have reasons for doing things that are based on not necessarily facts, but their opinions. Going back to politics, I saw all the people that, put all the Facebook posts out regarding, when Trump was up for impeachment, and all of the people portraying how he's innocent, but probably have never even met Trump, have no idea the real facts behind it. It's all based on their opinion and their perspective. And so I'm always leery too of when people put out stories and they tell information or they tell stories that are not based on evidence, but they're based on opinions for specific agendas. And that's when things become very problematic to me, because that is the concept too of selfishness. When I'm only looking out for my best interest. And agendas, that's what it is. That's what they are. I'm not concerned about other people's needs or other people's wants. I'm concerned about my own agenda and my own desires and my own wants and my own needs without considering other people. And this is one of the things in my life that has been extremely helpful in becoming, I don't get all attached and crazy behind dishonest or other, stories that I see from other people, because I can look at them and I can say, it's not true. That's not real. If there's nothing that backs up a story to show that there's any evidence behind it, then to me, it's not necessarily a true story. And so I wanted to bring this out because to me, this is extremely important. Like I said, in recovery, in the world of recovery, for people that are in recovery, honesty is the foundation of what we are working towards. When we look at our life, when we were out using drugs, it was all lies. Everything was lies. It was all dishonest. Everything that I did, said, was for my own personal gain. Lying by omission. We purposefully leave information out for personal gain. How many times did I do that when I was getting loaded? A lot, many times. And so when we get into this world of recovery, we've got to change those things. And I can tell you honestly, it's not always comfortable with being honest all the time, but the end result usually works out to be the best. People get caught in lies all the time. And integrity is where all that comes from. Because with what I say and what I do, and if they don't match, then I'm dishonest in some fashion in somewhere within my belief system. If I say that I care about people and then I go murder them, obviously, that's a dishonest statement in that the sense that I care about people. I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of Recovering Through Highness. I know it's kind of a quick one, but I wanted to throw this out. I was thinking about this topic recently with honesty, and I actually am also back working with clients aside from just my school. And so I have a lot less time in doing a lot of different things. But again, thank you for listening to Recovering Through Highness, and I look forward to talking to you soon. I'll see you then.
Your story